second feast that we celebrate at the end of June is June 29th, the patronal feast of our Roman Church, the feast of St. Peter and St. Paul. Just a word about St. Peter. If you go to Rome, I can show you his tomb. The excavations of St. Peter's tomb didn't begin until about 1940 something, and they began because Pope Pius XI had died in 1939, and so they were fixing his tomb, fixing a place for his tomb. And they were hammering on underneath St. Peter's Basilica, and all of a sudden there was thud. There was things caved in, and there, behold, lo and behold, they had uncovered part of a pagan cemetery. Well, then they had to decide, what are we going to do? They went to Pius XII, and he says, well, we need to begin the excavation. Hard to begin excavations when you've got this tremendous church that's built over the spot. So, but little by little, they began the excavations. They discovered that the St. Peter's Basilica, the present church, was built over a pagan cemetery. And this pagan cemetery was right outside of the arena of Nero, in which Christians were slaughtered during the time of Nero. And they found that there was one grave in this pagan cemetery, sort of a pauper's grave, had all kinds of chicken scratchings, graffiti, and so on. And they found that's probably, it says, Peter and Peter, pray for me. Peter is within. As far as the bones of St. Peter go, they didn't really find them right away. But a little bit later, they found a niche, which was high above other places. And they found a box there, and they found these bones that had been clothed in purple and gold. Well, purple and gold were reserved for the emperor. Nobody else would dare wear that. And the reason, the Emperor Constantine in the 4th century, early part of the 4th century, had built the original church of St. Peter and figured that he had clothed the bones of Peter in the best thing he knew, imperial dignity. Well, later on, it was long kind of a detective stories, but those bones were discovered to be the actual ones of this fisherman. They found all of the parts of his body except his ankles, his feet, and that kind of confirmed the tradition of the church from ancient times that he was crucified upside down. So when, after that, they cut him down, they didn't do it. Okay, this is authentic. Now, of course, we don't have to absolutely believe this on divine faith, but it shows, hey, this archaeologically and historically is true. In these excavations, they also found one of the ancient monuments to St. Peter. It was called the trophy, or the funeral monument of Gaius. 2 pillars and kind of a marble top to it. And it was in there that was one of the tombs of St. Peter from the 1st and 2nd century. So all of these things have been found, and it's archaeologically certain. The other part of this day that we celebrate, St. Paul. St. Paul, of course, went to Rome and preached, and he was under house arrest at first, and after that he was probably released, went elsewhere in the Roman Empire, came back, and eventually was martyred in Rome. Now, a Roman citizen could not be crucified. Those who weren't citizens could. Paul was a Roman citizen. He was beheaded, not crucified. And he was beheaded outside of the wall, outside of the city of Rome, and in a place called Three Fountains. And the ancient tradition was that his disciples took his body, they buried it on the Ostia, the road to Ostia. And Constantine, the same one who built the original Basilica of St. Peter, built this Basilica of St. Paul and entombed him down there. And his grave has never been excavated until the last couple of years. And last couple of years, they've decided they originally found the church, the Basilica of Constantine burned in the late 17th century, and they used the mosaic from the 4th century was preserved, and some of the pillars they tried to use as much as they could from the old basilica. Well, they found when they were opening up underneath the altar, a high altar, they found a slab that said Paulo Ap, to Paul the Apostle. And they didn't go any further. They just put it back and let it go. And so the last couple of years, they've opened this up again, and they've determined that that really is the tomb of St. Paul. What I'm trying to say is this is our archaeology. Now, our faith doesn't entirely depend on archaeology, but it shows us, hey, this good old Roman Catholic faith that we celebrate, it's real. And we celebrate these two great men, the apostles at Rome, who were real and who died there, who gave their life's blood there, and who are honored, and we know where they are. So on this particular day, June the 29th, we celebrate them together. And two more different people you could hardly imagine. Peter was this roughshod fisherman and no education. Paul was an educated rabbi. Peter was always putting his foot in his mouth. The Lord, are you going to restore the kingdom of Israel? Lord, let's bring down fire and consume those people that are against us. Paul was the one who was gentle and kind. Paul himself was a little impetuous at times. In fact, Paul himself in Galatians, he says, he upbraids Peter because he said that when there weren't any Jews around, Peter would eat with everybody, eat with Gentiles, and yet when some Pharisees came down, he wouldn't eat with them. He says, you're a hypocrite. He said, and Paul writes in Galatians, says, I withstood Peter to his face since he was clearly wrong in the matter. Well, it wasn't a matter of papal infallibility. It was just a matter of being a hypocrite. And so Peter himself reformed his life. So Peter and Paul were totally different personalities, and yet going their different ways, they eventually end up in Rome together, not martyred the same date, but nevertheless, Peter being crucified and on Vatican Hill and being buried there, Paul being beheaded outside the walls of Rome and the basilica there. So it's really a thrill when you go to Rome to visit what are called the scavi, the excavations of the tomb of Peter, and to visit the tomb of St. Paul and under his basilica. But again, it's the mystery we celebrate. It's the mystery of our holy faith that has come to us from the apostles Peter and Paul, which still continues undiluted, undiminished, flourishing, same faith that they professed, which we profess today. So this feast, June the 29th, St. Peter and St. Paul, our patronal feast of our liturgy, the patronal feast of the Roman Church. One more aside, in prehistoric times, 1975, I was in Rome for the Holy Year, and at that time, Pope Paul VI ordained, I think it was 300 priests at one time in the piazza in front of St. Peter's. He was assisted by about 50 cardinals and 200 bishops and so on. But it's an amazing sight that here, this age-old church, here's the successor of Peter who ordains all these men to carry on the work on the feast of St. Peter and Paul. So what am I trying to say? We've been talking about the church year. We've been talking about things, the mysteries. The mystery of our faith is we follow in exactly the same faith that Jesus handed to his apostles, which is handed on to their successors, and which we embody. So we celebrate Peter and Paul, we celebrate Irenaeus, these great people, and let us celebrate our faith by living it.